Hello, everybody. This is Mike from the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. My wife Beth and I would like to invite you to join us each week as we examine life at the intersection of marriage, family, careers, and ministry. Through 28 years of ministry, 26 years of marriage, 23 years of professional careers, and 21 years of being parents to 3 kids, our fun and honest discussions promise to have something for everyone. And now, on to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike.
And Beth.
And we are back. Beth, this is episode 18.
Wow.
That's big. Mm-hmm. You didn't think we'd make it 2 episodes.
I know. I'm really shocked.
And I've got a bigger surprise for you than that.
Oh, what?
I checked this week. We have eclipsed 400 followers.
Really?
Yes.
What do you mean by followers? Like following the Facebook page or
Yeah.
following us? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So 400 just on Facebook alone, social media followers. I think that's pretty good.
That's pretty shocking.
A lot of the people I don't know. So
Do you think they're bots?
probably. They have names that look very suspicious, but no,
Yes.
I don't know why bots
And do they
would be
have strange
following us.
pictures? And are they all like...
They're all models.
I was going to say, are they models who happen to be like surgeons in California or something, with lots of money, that kind of thing? Are they that kind of like profile?
Exactly. That's exactly what they are.
No, when I get those fake friend requests, it's always like, somebody that looks like a model or something. And it's like, oh, and this person's an orthopedic surgeon who loves to like snorkel and fly on the side. I don't know. I mean, they're always these very elaborate like profiles. So.
Well, if you guys get a friend request from someone named Maria Giannopoulos and she looks like she's a model, I promise she's real. But...
Oh,
Our
okay.
daughter just yelled down, and what did she say?
She said, if we get a friend request from somebody named Maria and she looks like a model, she can promise that she's real. I mean, it may look like she's too good to be true based on that profile, but she is 100% real.
Yeah, we know she's 100% real. And I'm going to get to that here in just a few moments. Like, some of the stuff I had to do for her this past week. So,
yeah.
just yesterday, to be precise. But, Beth, do you remember what the poll question was last week?
Wait a minute, was this the to-do list?
It was.
Yes,
Yeah, it was a to-do list. We
I
talked
should
about...
have put that on my to-do list to remember that the poll was the to-do list.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about your to-do list
Yes.
and specifically like your love and reliance.
I was going to say not love so much as a survival mechanism.
Yeah, so we asked, the poll question last week was just very simply, do you follow a to-do list?
Mm-hmm.
If so, do you follow it daily, weekly, or never? Have you looked at the results?
No, I have not.
I'm going to give you the results.
I haven't, in full disclosure, like my dad's not feeling well and my
You
mom
just found out that right now when I told you.
No, I know that, but listen, I texted my mom and she's like, well, he messaged you on Facebook Messenger. I haven't been on Facebook. That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't even know that.
He didn't message you on TikTok? That's usually his play.
No, I don't even know how to work TikTok. No.
He's like the only 75-year-old on TikTok, I think.
Yeah, he's very hip that way.
He is.
Anyway,
poll question. Do you follow a to-do list? 30% of the people said they follow it daily.
yes,
Those are your people.
they are my people. I need to meet them.
Yeah. Let's see here. Weekly, let's see how many we had. We had 23% said they followed it weekly. Mm-hmm. And then never, 46%.
Okay, but still, if you combine daily and weekly, the majority of the population follows a to-do list.
And those are probably the most unhappy of the population.
No, maybe they're the most functional of the population.
I think they're probably the most stressed.
I think maybe they get things done. They take care of business.
Well, there you go. That's what these polls are for.
TCB.
It's to, if we were keeping score, you would have won this poll question.
Haven't I won pretty much every poll?
No, gosh, no.
I think I have.
No, and a matter of fact, we're going to bring up a couple of things.
Oh, gosh.
And we're going to revisit some old stories.
Okay.
Stories that you lost, and I just want to keep rubbing it in. Beth and I visited a bookstore last week.
Goodness.
And this
doesn't count.
It does count. This is a bookstore that's at a neighboring town. And I go in it more frequently than Beth does. It's just a little nice used bookstore. It's been around 25 years probably. So I took Beth with me the other day and we were shopping. And there were some people in and out while we were there. But at one point, we were the only people in the store. And the two ladies that run this used bookstore, I consider them book experts. Because I figure if you run a bookstore and you've done it for 25 plus years, you know a thing or two about books. So I just kind of threw out to them.
Time out. I think they may be personally invested in the answer that they gave you based on the fact that they run a bookstore that is made up of paper page turner books. I just need to put that out there. Keep going. Their livelihood depends on the answer.
Okay, you get one timeout per show and you just used it. I hope you're happy with that timeout you just used.
I didn't know that I was limited on my
Yeah,
timeouts.
I'm limiting you now.
Okay, whatever. Okay, go ahead.
So I asked these ladies, I said, let me ask you, you two are experts. Is it reading a book if you listen? And without hesitation, they both said immediately, absolutely not. You've got to read the book. You've got to physically have the book for it to be
I stand
read.
by my disclaimer that I placed on this. If your survival of your business is based on the continuation of people reading paper books, not even Kindles, they didn't have any like books on CD or books on tape, and there's no Audible in there. I think that they are going to be a little biased. I don't know that you're making it sound like this is like a scientific survey or something where, you know, that the results can't be disputed, but that is not true.
These are two experts. And then I tried to like get them on the hook for our podcast. I was like, well, my wife and I discussed this on our podcast a few weeks ago. They acted like I didn't even say that statement.
Yeah.
They just totally ignored it.
Maybe
like,
they don't know what a podcast is.
They probably didn't.
Yeah.
But then they started discussing it.
Yeah.
And you could tell, you know, goes, one of the arguments you made and some of our listeners made is, what if you're blind? They got to that point in the discussion, and you could tell they were very reluctant even to give blind people a pass. They were like, well, maybe if you're blind. And the other one was like, yeah, but that's what we got Braille for.
Oh,
you know, like
goodness.
you could tell.
I'm telling you.
They did not want to give anybody a pass. And so I felt vindicated.
Okay, so you have to find a used paper bookstore owner in a small town whose livelihood depends on their answer. That's what you have to do to feel vindicated. Okay, I'll let you have that one, but I don't consider it a quote
They
win.
could have said, absolutely, audiobooks are the same. They could have said that.
Well, I guess they could have, but
I didn't know what they were going to say when I asked. I put myself out there, knowing that they may side with you, and they didn't. The second thing I'd like to bring up is...
I hope they don't hear our dogs in the background playing.
The dogs are playing.
It sounds like they're in pain, but they're not. They're just playing. Anyway.
I don't know what they're doing over there.
It's Reese and Cam. They're playing, but anyway.
You went to the dentist.
Yes.
Yes. What? Tell everybody about your dentist visit. What was the good news?
Well,
Beth?
it's funny because I had a work call immediately afterwards, and before it even started, as soon as the person said, hey, I said, I didn't have any cavities. I didn't get a sticker or anything, but I was cavity free.
Wow,
She said my teeth looked wonderful. And the hygienist, you know how sometimes they're like, oh, you really should be flossing, or you're not getting your back teeth close enough. She didn't say one negative thing about my teeth.
I like to think it's because I challenged you to up your game with your dental hygiene.
That has nothing to do with it. I've had great dental hygiene. Do you want to know a fact I did learn, though?
What?
So I had heard that as we age as women, they were saying due to hormonal fluctuations, you're more likely to have tooth problems and that like you might even lose a tooth. So I mentioned that to the doctor, and she said, it's just as you age, you know, your teeth get worse. She hasn't necessarily heard that, but she did bring up a fascinating fact. A tidbit for our listeners. Oh, maybe this can be the secret word because we forgot to do it last time. But she said that dry mouth is what a lot of people start to suffer with as they age, maybe due to medications or what have you, but a whole variety of factors. But she said it's worse than sugar. Dry mouth is more detrimental to your teeth than sugar. So, should dry mouth be our secret word?
That's disgusting.
Okay.
All right, first of all, I think one of the ways you prevent dry mouth is you keep your mouth shut.
Oh,
So I think
isn't
that's
that
what
funny?
she was trying to communicate
No,
to you.
she wasn't.
Beth, I really need you to keep your mouth shut while I'm talking to
No,
you.
they wanted to talk to me, the hygienist and the dentist. We had to keep stopping mid cleaning so we could talk about things like the challenges of raising
Did you plug
young
our
adults.
podcast?
And
If
no,
you didn't plug our
I didn't.
podcast and the dental hygiene,
I will try to go
episode,
back. I'll go
then
back.
it was worthless.
I will try to send them this one since we've talked about so many good facts about teeth.
did you offer them to be a sponsor on the podcast?
No, but if I send this, maybe they will. I don't know.
I'm not above having our dentist as a sponsor.
Yes, podcast. Yes, okay.
I mean, she's pretty good.
Yeah, I'll work on this. I'll work on
I
that.
would say she's great if she sponsors the show.
Okay.
Right now, I'm giving her pretty good. I'm not even willing to give her name out yet.
Okay, we gotta wait. You gotta earn that like the getting your name on here.
Yeah. So that's the two updates. Is just wanted
No
to update
cavities.
the book.
I'm cavity free.
And now you know how I live. Now you know why I'm so happy all the time and cheerful. Because that's how, when you walked out of the dentist, like you were walking on clouds
Yes.
with no cavities.
Yes.
That's a day in the life of Mike Giannopoulos.
It
I'm
felt
sorry,
just good.
Mike Yiannopoulos.
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly.
I'm still working on correcting that.
Oh yeah, I was somewhere and somebody did ask again how to pronounce my name, and they did not do it anywhere close to any of those
Well,
pronunciations.
when they say that, just say Yiannopoulos.
I'll start doing that if I can
Because they don't
remember.
know.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's some, like some stranger,
Yeah. Okay. I'll work on that.
is it Yiannopoulos?
Yiannopoulos. Okay. It just sounds like more sophisticated,
Yeah, it
doesn't
does.
it? And then I could be like Glenda when she's like the G is silent. We'll be like, well, the G is a ya. You know, it gives
ya.
us something to like discuss with people and sound more sophisticated.
It does. And then we can always circle back to the podcast. And say,
Yes.
we talked about this on our podcast.
Yes. So if you want to know more about it, you need to take an hour of your life or multiple hours because we won't even tell you which podcast it was. You
Well,
have to go back
speaking
and
of,
listen.
I don't think, our original goal was to keep this around 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And our average is probably right at an hour.
Uh-huh.
We have a friend, we'll call him Sam.
Yes.
He says it's too long. He said he feels like he's listening to the Lord of the Rings trilogy when he's listening to one of our podcasts. Like, he don't have an hour of his life. Like, what does he do? He's like semi-retired right now.
Well, also think about this. It's kind of like that show Josh was watching. Josh was watching this show and we triggered him because I burst out laughing at the content of the show. But it was a YouTube producer and I was like, well, what is this guy known for? Like, because the show was kind of about like legends and cryptids and stuff. And I was like, is that all he does? And he's like, no, he's known for his long form content on YouTube. That maybe that's the way we need to market ourselves. We're known for our long form content. It's a podcast about nothing, as in Seinfeld, but it's long form. We like to give our listeners more to listen to. If you only get this once a week,
That's what I'm
he
saying.
can break this up into like 15-minute increments.
It's like 50 minutes to an hour each
Should we
episode.
start having little breaks
Joe
in the
Rogan
content?
is 3 hours solid, and he does multiple episodes a week.
And you look just like him.
I do. So
Yes.
I was a little offended when Sam told me
But
that.
we should tell Sam, that he can break it up, and we'll try to have more logical breaks in our content so that he can
To
spread
be
it
fair,
out.
Sam's an accountant. So who knows how his brain works anyway. Words are hard for him.
Well, you know what we should do? Like, we should talk to our friend, we'll call her Shelly, and see if she thinks it's too long.
We know Shelly likes words because she will leave a comment that's like
Yes.
4 pages.
I love it because she stands by. She gives you context and support for her opinion. I love it. As opposed to just like, do you like this or not? Yes or no. She tells us why. And I think that she would support the length of this podcast. I think
she wants
would.
longer.
That's what I was going to say. She may want longer or more. Now, we may be projecting all of this on her, and she may now comment and say, nope, an hour is the limit, the cutoff. But that would be we should do a poll question.
No, we don't want an answer to that.
Oh, because it might depress us. Yeah, I don't want any poll questions that are going to make me feel bad about the podcast.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, that'll get in my head.
All right. Now, we've talked about this. I'm not sure if people believe this or not, but you do not know what we're going to talk about every time we sit down.
No. And you just, like today, your words were, Just roll with it. It's going to be great. Just go with it.
Oh, this is going to be a hot show. Because
Yeah.
we're about to get into some stuff that's going to get you burned up.
Okay, because that's
And-
not what I need right now, but okay.
That's what I like.
Yeah.
And so Beth doesn't know what we're talking about unless it's like a big topic. Like I can go ahead and tell you, I told her, I said, look, we're going to be talking about the 5 love languages in just, on this episode at some point.
Right.
Dr. Gary Chapman's best-selling book and his theory on the 5 love languages. And so we're going to get to that eventually.
Or sometimes I'll give a suggestion on content, like, "Oh, we should talk about this." You know?
And I usually say, nah, that's not good. But I treat this podcast like I treat my sermons. Like I keep in my phone notes. And so I've been preaching for almost 30 years. And so I've learned to be a very observational person. And so I'll look around. And if I see something that was like, oh, that would make a good analogy or something, I'll make a note of it. And then when I'm writing a sermon, I'll go back to my analogies that I've written down and see if there's something that, oh yeah, that would fit here or whatever. And that's kind of, I like to think Jesus did that with parables. That's kind of what he did.
In his cell phone, or like on his whatever
his,
somebody was
papyrus on the
somebody was carrying
scroll or
around.
whatever.
Yeah,
he probably said, "Hey, Peter, write this down."
Right. Yeah, this is a good one.
I just
I'm
saw
gonna
a
use
mustard
this.
seed.
Yeah.
I think I could do this.
Yes, I think I could do something
I
with
saw an eye of a needle, eye of a camel and a needle. So
Yeah.
anyway, I think he did that. So that's what I do. I do the same thing with our podcast. Is as things happen in our life, I will pull out my phone and write them down and think, oh, this will be a good topic. So not only am I co-host, I feel like I'm creative director of the Hey, Are You Still
Please.
There
Okay,
podcast.
you're really fishing for a lot of affirmation here, but we'll get to that later, I suppose, because
just
I can
telling you,
also
I
be
mean-
observational about what people need.
Okay, so to give you a little glimpse into the window of our life, the house that we live in, we have lived in for going on 16 years. And it's a 2-story house. And the second floor has 4 rooms. It has our oldest son's bedroom, our daughter's bedroom, a shared bathroom, and a bonus room. And the way the house is built, the bonus room is one of these bonus rooms that's basically the attic of the garage. It's the footprint of the garage, essentially. So it's about a 20 by 20 or so, whatever the garage is. And when we moved in here, we made a corner of the bonus room an office. We have a nice desk and computer and whatnot. We made another corner of it kind of an entertainment area with a sofa and TV and entertainment center and video games and that kind of stuff. And then the rest of the room has just evolved over time as the kids have gone through different stages. There's been
Reptiles and
everything-
amphibian
everything
habitats.
from, yes, fish aquariums, reptile aquariums
Yeah.
to
Polly Pocket and stuff.
Thomas the
Those
Train
right
tables to a foosball table.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all been up there at some point. Well, since Maria has been moving around over the last 18 months,
Like a nomad.
from our house
Yes.
to the beach for college, back to our house, to Florida for Disney, back to our house, away to college again, now back to our house.
And then back,
And now
we'll
she's
be
getting
going
ready
back to Disney.
Somehow, every time she moves back home, she brings more crap with her.
Yes.
And because she
Tubs
doesn't
of
want
it.
to clutter her room,
Yeah.
she just piles it in the bonus room.
Yeah.
It had gotten to the point you literally could not walk in that bonus room.
Because that's also where we had our suitcases, and I couldn't even. I had to like step around things and stuff like to get them.
Okay, and let's bring up the suitcases because that's where I'm going.
Oh
with
no.
this.
Okay. What's wrong with our
So-
suitcases?
Beth has a suitcase fetish
I do not.
that every 2 weeks she's like, I think we need a new suitcase.
That
And
is
I'm like,
not
gosh, how
true.
many suitcases do we need? And so yesterday, I'd been on Maria. I'm like, you got to have this cleaned up before you go back to school. Well, she really didn't. And then I was like, all right, you got to have it cleaned up by the end of January. And she really didn't. So finally, I'm like, yesterday I had some free time. And I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going in there with giant trash bags and I'm going to start just taking a wrecking ball to this room. And the first thing I had to do was get the suitcases out because we used to keep the suitcases in our attic. We have a walk-in attic that The door opens, you walk into it. It's a little small.
It's small.
Stand
That
up.
makes it sound like it's huge. It's
No,
not.
no, you actually have to get to it through a closet.
Yeah, it's not
it's just
big.
wonky the way it was
Yeah.
made, but it's great for storing
Yeah.
things like Christmas decorations and suitcases.
Yes.
Well, because the attic is only accessible through Maria's closet, which is only accessible through Maria's room.
Yes.
And because she usually had junk all over the place, it just got to be easier as you travel a lot to just, you get a suitcase out, you take and you travel, and then it's like, well, I'll just put it in the bonus room until I can put it away.
Because it'll be like, well, I have to go somewhere in a few weeks, so we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, it shows you how much you travel. In that you're like, some people haven't used a suitcase in years. And you're like, well, I'm going to be using it again next week. Just leave it out. And let's point out, you don't travel for work. And so...
I have before. I might once a year.
And so...
Anyway.
When I opened the door to the bonus room yesterday, I had to formulate a plan. What do I need to tackle first? I'm like, I got to get these suitcases out of the way. So I started grabbing suitcases, and I was taking them to Maria's room to eventually put in the attic. We had 10 suitcases.
Okay.
10 suitcases.
Okay, I see where you're going. And
Some
you
of the
are
suitcases still had tags
You
on
are
them. Not
misrepresenting.
travel tags, but tags from the store.
Okay, you want to know? Okay.
I took a picture, and I'm going to put it on the Facebook.
The way that we pack has evolved over time. Okay, give me a minute and let me explain. Suitcases come in essentially 3 sizes. There are the carry-on suitcases, which are the size that, unless you're on a budget airline, so like if you're on American or Delta, they have to be a certain size for you to put it in the overhead bin, okay? We have 5 people in our family. Sometimes, and this has nothing to do with like not wanting to pay to check a bag, because most of the time I can get a check bag free. But airlines, I have heard too many horror stories about people losing their luggage. Also, the airlines sometimes crush our luggage. The times when we've had to send our bags through, like the Mickey Mouse suitcase Maria had, that the wheel was crushed off of it and the entire front the first time that we checked the bag. So we try to carry on when we can. If you have 5 people who all go on a vacation together, I know this is going to blow your mind, but right there, that is 5 carry-on suitcases. That accounts for half of the suitcases, okay? Then, so that's 5 carry-ons.
I want to go ahead. I'm going to use my timeout.
Okay.
I anticipated every one of these arguments, and I can't wait to debunk these myths.
You want to know what else?
Go ahead.
So then there's mid-sized suitcases, okay? Mid-sized suitcases are when you don't want to do the massive ones, but you need something bigger than a carry-on that you're going to check. I know that we have at least 2 of those. One was getting in bad shape. Then I tried to get a second one because one of them, I don't remember if it was the wheel or the handle. So some of these are not great. The other reason people may be like, well, why are you keeping a broken suitcase? Because when we go places like Jamaica, we need to carry tools. And like one time we had to roll the suitcases up that rocky hill and it would bust up the suitcase. So if you send an old suitcase and donate it, you have served a greater purpose. Then there is the Mac Daddy largest suitcase, which the reason there's still tags on one, I know the one you're talking about. We sometimes, like when we've traveled on Frontier, it's a budget airline. You have to pay per check bag. So we try to maximize that space. So what we've done is like one time when our family of 5 went, we only checked 1 suitcase. So everybody, and you couldn't do carry-ons because they charge extra for carry-ons. So we're getting everything we can without exceeding the weight limit into that large suitcase. So right there, I've accounted for 5 carry-ons, 2 mid-size, 2 large. That's 9 suitcases. Then if you said there's 10, I think that there was like a cloth soft-sided suitcase or something that Josh had. And also I do know that one of the like smaller suitcases, one time I gave Maria like a Disney like Frozen suitcase because she loves it so much. Well, the other thing is Jacob or Josh are not going to carry around a Frozen suitcase or like, something like that. So those aren't suitcases that can be used by them because they're not going to. They also tend to be smaller. So yes, do we have a lot of suitcases? Yes, we do. We also have a large family. And I would say that we also have a family too that is moving around, like Maria moving to Disney and stuff. So when you think about people who are having to move and do that, that is an average of 2 suitcases per person
What do you
in
think
our
your
family.
blood pressure is right now?
I don't know, but I don't think that is wrong. 2 per person? Like, you go ask most people who might travel a fair amount, do you have 2 suitcases, like one large and one small, or one mid? And they're probably going to say, yes, they probably do. So what? You anticipated all this. Debunk my factual inaccuracies. Although I must say, I am working from memory and I haven't been up there taking pictures and counting our suitcases like you were. And I don't even understand why we're arguing about this. I don't know why it matters.
Who said we were arguing? I just said we had 10 suitcases and you just got triggered.
No, because you're giving me these judgy eyes. This is where we need to be videoing this so people can see how you're like, whoa, well,
I
look
didn't
at
say
me.
it was good or bad.
I'm so superior. I've counted that we have 10 suitcases. Everything in your voice and your delivery implied that you are being judgmental about how many suitcases we have.
You know what? On this podcast, I just said we live in a 2-story house. And people were probably like, okay. And then we said we had 10 suitcases, and they're like, whoa! I didn't know we were listening to the Vanderbilts.
I mean,
like, goodness. Like, how much? They're rolling in suitcase money.
Oh. So that's going to be our measurement now. Like, we don't have 10 suitcase money. I mean, we're not that level. Okay.
Yeah. Well, let me break it down.
Can I also say, sometimes I got these on deals. Like, one of them I got with Kohl's Cash, and it was like, and then, like.
Kohl's is not a sponsor. You can't.
I'm sorry. Okay, but a certain store that has cash that they give you if you make purchases. Okay, go ahead. You can go.
All right, so we had 10 suitcases.
Yes.
2 large.
Yes,
One
just
of
like
the,
I said.
One of the large still had tags on it.
Yes, and there's a reason, because we haven't been on a family vacation where we've checked a large bag since I purchased it.
Well, I'm glad we purchased it then, just in case. And we had 1 medium.
Oh, because the other one's, and the rest are carry-on. Okay.
7 carry-ons.
Okay.
And timeout. Let me finish. I gave you a timeout. Just say you used your timeout. Just listen. You mentioned some broke suitcases.
Yes.
That didn't even include those. Those are already out in the garage, ready to be used on the next mission trip. I don't even know how many of those there are, but there's a couple out in the garage. So then, yesterday afternoon, I get home from school with Josh. I was like, all right, Josh, I've got all the suitcases in Maria's room. I'm going to go in the closet. I'm in the attic. You hand them to me, and I'm going to put them in there. I walk in the attic. There's 5 more suitcases in the attic.
But aren't those really old cloth suitcases? Those are the ones
not all of them.
Okay, well then you shouldn't have hidden them from me. I didn't know.
15 suitcases.
Okay.
Between the attic and the bonus room.
Okay.
Not counting the broken ones in our garage.
Okay, time out. I bet some of them are those tan cloth sided ones.
We've
right?
given all those away.
Okay, then what do these others look like? These mysterious is one of them the big green suitcase that has Christmas ornaments in it?
That's out in the garage.
That's broken. Okay, well what are the ones in the attic?
You got to go look. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but we've got.
But are they the good ones that have the roll around wheels where you can,
No, they're the old leather one with no wheels that you see people in the 1950s carrying through a airport, Beth. I don't know what they are, but I'm just telling you, you go in our attic, there's 15 suitcases. We literally have more suitcases than Kohl's has right now. If you go to Kohl's to buy a suitcase, they're going to be like, I'm sorry, we're sold out, but check with the Giannopolis.
Okay. I didn't know about the one. If they were in the attic, they were out of sight, out of mind. I think I do know. I think one of them is that small purple one. I'm suspecting that.
Just go look. That's
I'm
all
just telling you. But some of them were starting to give us problems, and so I'd be
I'm
like,
not worried about you going up there and looking, because I don't know the last time you ever even went in that attic.
Well,
I think you forgot we had it until I just mentioned it.
Anyway, I still stand by. I bet some of those are old or not transferable or usable or what have you. So
this may or may not be the poll question. I don't know what the poll question may be. As a matter of fact, it may be the poll question. I just thought about it. How often do you buy a new suitcase? Because I bet for some people it's like I've never bought a new suitcase. Like, I'm using the one I've used on my honeymoon 35 years
But
ago.
they break. Again, and they may not break so bad that you totally stop using them, that they break to the point that you're like... The other thing is, depending on where you're traveling, like if I'm traveling somewhere that I'm going to have to be transferring where I'm going, like in a hotel for a while, then getting on a train and going somewhere and then going somewhere else, like you have to be careful about the size of your suitcase. Like if you call like an Uber or something in France and you've got one of those massive suitcases, you're going to have to size up the car that you need to come get you.
I think I'm now starting to realize why our friend Sean just invests in laundry baskets. I mean, that's what he travels with. He just throws all his stuff in a laundry basket and carries it. I think that's because they're cheap. Like, you ain't got to worry about it.
And if it breaks, you just throw it away.
Breaks.
Yeah.
So.
That won't work with the airlines, but I guess that works fine for other travel.
The second thing I need to dive deeper into.
Oh, gosh. I'm really exhausted now already.
Yesterday, Josh had a doctor's appointment.
What? Oh, gosh.
Yesterday, Josh had his annual checkup. And so I'm at the house, and I'm leaving because I have to get Josh out of school a little early to go to his doctor's appointment for his annual checkup. And so I'm driving down the road, and Beth calls me, and you say,
Why
did
are you
leave
leaving
so early?
right now?
Why did you leave so early?
Yeah.
I was like, well, honey, his appointment's at 3:30. This is like 2:45.
Okay, I know where you're going with this. I'm gonna have my calendar ready. Go ahead.
No, you don't need to. I can confirm it. Just hang on.
Okay.
It's 2:45. I'm heading to school to pick Josh up. Beth calls me and says, why'd you leave so early? And I was like, I got to pick Josh up. Well, why? Well, his appointment's at 3:30. And you said, no, it's not. It's at 4. And I said, honey, I have it on my calendar right here at 3:30. Now, I didn't put it on my calendar, and I'll give you all the credit in the world. You handle the kids'
I carry
checks.
the mental
Yes,
load of all of this.
The medical mental load.
Yeah, anyway.
You make the doctor's appointments, and they populate in my, you send me an invite, and they populate in my
Because
calendar.
for this one, I have my dental cleaning, and so I couldn't
Just settle down and just let me finish.
Yes, okay.
So we get into this discussion, and you're getting heated. You're like, it is at 4 o'clock. I said, I don't know. All I'm telling you is it says 3:30 on my calendar. Well, your calendar is wrong. I put 4 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever. He's getting out of school earlier than he needs to then. That's just life. So, because I wasn't going to turn around and come home. So I went to school, picked Josh up, and we had time. He was like, hey, can we go through a drive-thru and can I get a snack? I was like, yeah, we got plenty of time. And I was like, actually, open my calendar. And he opened my calendar up. I said, what does it say for today? And he opened it up and he said, it says Joshua well visit, and the time is 3:30. And I said, that's exactly right. And I said, now click on it. And so he clicks on it and it opens up and it says, in the memo it is written, Josh doctor appointment 4 o'clock, but leave a little early to pick him up because I have a dentist appointment. But how would I
look
know
at this?
that?
No, when I look at my calendar, I am sorry for the way it displays on yours. You
How
know what?
does that?
Okay, but okay. You didn't click on it. Joshua well visit at ... and the time. You want?
Time out.
Because let me explain.
Finish. Let me finish. Who puts the time that I need to pick the kid up from school on the calendar? You put what time the appointment is. So literally, I took a screenshot of this and a screenshot of what happens when you click on it. And I will post this on social media for our listeners to judge. But literally it says Joshua well visit 3:30. So I thought that's what time his appointment was. I didn't know that I had to click on it to decipher Joshua well visit at 4.
No.
Leave a little early. Beth has dentist.
Can I explain something? When you're looking at your calendar, you're misrepresenting the facts. You're making it sound like the text that I typed in said Joshua well visit at 3:30. That is not the text that I typed in. What it says is Joshua well visit at ... And then the time that is blocked shows that 3:30 to 5 is blocked. The text that I take. No, here's the thing.
What, am I supposed to just take him anytime between 3:30 and 5?
Can I tell you?
Is this the way doctors work now?
No, that's how you block off an appointment, so you know how much time it could take.
You block off an
can
appointment.
I explain to you? Listen, you have the large. If you didn't have the big text that we both have to have for our bad eyes, it would have probably shown that it says Joshua will visit at 4 p.m. But like you have the large text on. So when you screenshot this, you should screenshot what mine looks like too. No, you screenshot what mine looks like. Because here's what it says. When I typed it, I'm sitting at my computer. I make this appointment. Here's what happens. I work in a job where other people, we have to have our calendars up to date. Other people will look at the blocked time and they will just populate your calendar with meetings. So when I made this appointment, I have to incorporate the travel time in the meetings. Otherwise, no, listen. Otherwise,
you even know how appointments work?
Yes.
Nobody else calculates travel time.
I'm explaining why I have to at my work. Because if I just put 4 to 5 for his doctor's appointment, someone from my work will go, because I scheduled these appointments a long time ago. I'm not going to remember to go in this week and block off 3:30 to 4. If I haven't already put the travel time in there to give me time to get to school to get him and to drive to the doctor, somebody will schedule a meeting. Please, people that work with me, anyone that works in an office that's like my environment, you will understand this.
I don't work with you.
I know, but I don't keep 14 calendars. I do this calendar and then I send you a calendar invite. And that is why I was very careful to write, Joshua will visit at 4 p.m. Leave school. It is not my fault that you don't click to open it, and it is not my fault.
Why should I click when the time comes up on my normal
calendar? I can't
calendar?
tell how it displays on your calendar. Lesson learned.
Can you not see how I would have been confused?
Now I will learn.
Can you see how I would have been confused?
No, I cannot see
You're
why you would be
lying.
confused. Because listen, my reason that I can't see why you would be confused is because who doesn't read the text? It's the subject line. You make it sound like it's down in the notes, like you got to scroll down really far to see. No, it's in the text. And you have my chart just like I do. You could look at my chart and confirm
when
it.
I open my calendar and I look at the day and it says Josh will visit 3:30, I think it means
say 3:30.
It did.
Saying it says 3:30.
It's right there in black and white.
Joshua will visit ... and then the time blocked to the side that the calendar shows you is 3:30 to 5. Also, part of it, look, you could change your calendar view. It's also the way, if you had looked...
So now I have to change my life to fit yours.
No, I'm just saying it's the way you look at your
That's the most
appointment.
2025 thing I've ever heard.
Okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I have to balance a lot of things on the calendar in my mind and in my
Listen,
life.
I got a public service announcement. For anybody listening who attends our church, please go ahead. Our new time is 10 o'clock, not 10:30, because we need to give travel time. So our church is now from 10 to 12. Come whenever you want. Use travel time.
No, here's the ridiculous thing of what you're saying. That is the whole 10 to 12 would be the whole time that would show as busy on the calendar to people who look at your calendar. You would look at the text that would say, church starts at 10:30. Okay, then you know. I'm not saying you show up no one looks at the calendar and says, oh, I get to show up anytime
If
between 3:30
someone
and
messages
5.
me and says, what time is your church? I'll say 10 to 12. And then they're going to show up at 10. I'm like, oh, no, it really starts at 10:30. I just wanted to give you travel time. And it really doesn't last till 12. I just didn't want somebody to schedule between 11:30 and 12.
No, you're not the reason you're being ridiculous. We're talking about how the calendar has to operate for us. And of course, I don't tell other people it starts at 4. But if I were doing that even for my kids, I guess one thing I can do to make things more clear for you is in the future, I will block off 4 to 5 for the appointment, and then I will block off 3:30 to 4 as, quote, travel time. And I will keep
You know what would make it really simple?
No.
You put the time of the appointment. That's it.
Do you want to know why that doesn't work? Because now you're causing me to have to do 2 steps. Or
But you
3
want me to
steps.
do do 2 steps.
No,
I want you to click on your calendar and then click on the actual
you're
event.
making me have to schedule 2 appointments though, because now I'm going to have to schedule the 4 to 5 and send you the meeting invite. And then I have to go create a separate event that schedules the 3 to, because the reason I had to have the travel time for me was when I scheduled this, I probably didn't know that I had a dentist appointment. So I probably
You
thought.
obviously did because you put it in the notes.
You know what some people can do? They can update a calendar invite. That is this crazy thing
And I
that
don't
happens.
understand what
So
this is at the end.
I don't know. It was a mistype. I just had an N by accident. I don't know. But like everything else, I don't know how my words can be more clear. And here's my other thing. When I scheduled this, I probably was like, okay, it's 4 to 5. I'll be taking Josh. I need to block off 3:30 so nobody from work will schedule anything. Then I probably ended up scheduling a dentist. And I probably even messaged you and said, hey, Mike, I scheduled the dentist for this time. Can you take Josh to his appointment? And you were probably like, yes. Well, then I just went in and updated the text to indicate that you were taking it. I don't understand. I'm sorry if my methodology doesn't suit your needs, but I've worked in my job for almost 20 years, and this is the way that I've found to best deal with things so that I'm not sitting there trying to drive somebody to an appointment on a conference call with my video on. Oh, y'all, I'm sorry, I have to talk in code.
How long have you worked at your
I'm a lawyer.
current?
I have to talk in code because my kid's in the car, and so I can't read anything you have up because I'm driving.
How long have you worked at your current place of employment?
19 years.
Okay, I have worked at being a father for 21 and a half years.
Okay.
And so I've been doing appointments with doctors longer than you've been at your current job.
Well, you know what? Then you can just start doing all the appointments by yourself if you want to be like that.
I feel like I do anyway. I don't know when the last time you took one of our kids to the doctor.
I just took Maria, I went with her to her last one. So don't even try that. And this is because I always go to their appointments.
Every time I
had
go
to get
here,
my teeth cleaned, and
every
it's
time
too
I go
hard
here,
to
they
change
think
an
I'm a single
appointment.
dad.
Oh, please. Oh gosh, cry me a river. We're not good. You are doing your responsibility as a dad. So I'm sorry, you're equally part of whatever. And if you've got to go to the doctor, you don't deserve a trophy for doing what a parent has to do. We need to move on to something else.
Let's move on to love languages.
My love language is I want to wring your neck right now. I am
I'm not mad at all.
I do not want to talk about love right now.
Okay, fine, we won't. We'll bring up another subject you brought up on
Okay, let's talk about love. No, we're not. No,
What?
Then let's talk about love languages, please.
But this may lead into love language.
What?
We were at a meal, maybe breakfast or dinner on our vacation, which we talked about a little bit last week in Antigua. And I said we were some of the youngest there. There was quite a few retirees.
Yes.
Probably 80% of the people look like they were retired. And you're an observant person, and you looked around and you looked at me and you said, quote,
Oh no, I don't know what I said.
what do old people have to talk about?
I did say that.
And I was like, what do you mean? And you were like, just look, they're just staring off into space.
They were.
And you're
And
right.
I wasn't being,
You're 100%
Yes.
right. For most of these couples,
Yeah.
they're both eating, one is staring in one direction, one's staring in another direction, and they're just sitting there in silence.
Yes.
And you were like, I don't want to be that way.
No, I don't.
I don't want us to ever get to that point where we're just sitting at a table, eating soup, staring into outer space. And not every couple was like that. You could tell
Right.
some couples, like my favorite lady, the dyed redhead lady, and her husband with the pink hat.
Yes.
They looked fun.
Life goals for
They were
them.
always talking and laughing and whatever.
Yeah.
And I said numerous times, that's who I want to be when I get older.
Yeah, because they seemed like they liked each other, but then they also talked to other people. So they weren't like, they were just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope we don't go talk to them and find out if we, my concern would be that we would talk to them and they'd be like, oh, we've only been married 5 weeks and that's why we still like each other and have stuff to talk about.
Well, that should give you hope for your next husband.
Whatever. Anyway, where are we going with this conversation about?
Well, it got me, we were talking about this and on in view of that, and talking and thinking about what do these older people that seemingly have been married for a really long time, and they just sit there and stare and don't talk. That's why I don't mind fighting with you, Beth, because this is good conversation.
Oh, so you're like the child that's like negative attention is better than no attention. So this is what you're going to have me like my blood pressure up all the time when we're really old. Just like you're going to be like, remember that time that like I brought up those suitcases?
Is that how I sound? Because that sounds really country.
But when you're old, you may. I don't
think
know.
I will.
Anyway, I'm just saying. But like I don't. Okay.
Listen,
anyway.
And if you know anything about me, you know that's exactly how I am.
Yes.
And so I would rather us fight than just sit in silence. And so even though we're recording this for a podcast, this is literally a genuine argument that we would have had, because I would have brought it up anyway at dinner or something, and we would have fought about this.
Because you're an instigator.
I am an instigator.
You like to stir the pot.
Yeah, you know.
Yes.
And you're passionate. We talked about that. That's what you should love about yourself. Have you figured out what you love about yourself yet, Beth?
No.
Okay.
I'm still working on it.
I still love your passion. And so you're passionate. So I know I can say this. But you look at these passionless couples.
Yes.
They just sit and stare off into space like they're waiting to die.
Yes.
You know, or they're waiting for one of their spouse to die so they can get on with their life. And it got me thinking about the love languages. I don't want to get into it, but I had an opportunity when I first got into ministry back in 1996. I was on staff at a church with Dr. Gary Chapman, and I had dinner at his house. He gave me a signed copy of the 5 love languages, and now he's turned that into a multi-billion-dollar book industry. I mean, there's the 5 love languages for your kids, the 5 love languages for your parents, the 5 love languages for your dog. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's a million of them. It's like chicken soup books, right? Yeah. Which God bless him. He's done well with it. But it got me thinking, you know, about our love languages. And if you've never read the book, A 30,000 Foot Flyover, is Dr. Chapman believes that essentially it comes down to 5 core love languages, and that everyone has a certain language. Just like you'd have a certain language if you were in a different country, you know. If I was to go to Mexico, then Spanish is their language. And so I would need to speak Spanish if I was going to communicate with folks in Mexico, you know. And, you know, you could use that anywhere, you know, kind of, you pick a country and whatever their native language is. And so he looked at that in terms of relationships, that everyone has their own love language that they understand. And he boiled it down to 5 core love languages. And you and I, when we went through premarital counseling, did the 5 love language test. And since then, I've used that book and used that test on almost every premarital counseling I've ever done for couples that I'm doing the wedding for or whatever. And occasionally I'll break it back out and you and I'll retake it. And it's always the same. It just doesn't change. And so the 5 love languages that Dr. Chapman kind of boils it down to is, and we'll start with your number 1. One of them is quality time.
Yes.
Quality time is a love language for some people. For them to feel loved, they want you to spend time with them. That's your number 1. What do you get out of that?
Well, and I think it's interesting because that's how I receive love, but it's also, even if it's not like somebody else's love language, that tends to be how I show my love too. So like, for example, I think that's one reason with all the kids, all the stuff they love and care about. I mean, like when Jacob played football, I went to a football thing for moms and learned how they did things in their practices. And then I would go in the backyard and say, oh, tell me more about what you do. Because to me, I'm spending this quality time. I'm expressing my love to him. Maria's love of Disney by going on these trips and sharing in that, whether I love it or not, just by doing that with them, I'm trying to show their love. Like with you, I would sometimes go play golf or go play disc golf or learn a board game. But for me, when I'm receiving it, I think for me personally, it's that I view time is the most precious commodity that we have because, of course there's money and there's all sorts of other things, but time is limited and everybody has the same amount, but like amount of time in each day, we never know how much time we're ultimately going to have. And so if somebody like spends time with me doing something with me, it doesn't even have to be something I enjoy. Just by them being with me, I feel like they have given me this precious gift because they've taken this commodity, this thing that there's only so much, there's a finite amount of it, and they have decided to give me a portion of that. So I just feel more connected with people when I'm spending quality time. And to your point with the quality, what I mean by that is, since I said it doesn't even have to be something I enjoy, but it's more kind of like undivided attention or something. So like I don't want to say it doesn't count, but like if we went out right now and, like I wanted to try, Jacob loves to snowboard, so I wanted to snow ski with him. This is another way I would do that. Well, if I went and he was just like on his phone talking to friends the entire time, well, that wouldn't feel like quality time. He'd be giving me time, but it wouldn't feel like quality time. So quality time for me would be more like we're actually with each other. Maybe even if we're not talking, maybe just like, doing something together or being sort of that side by side. You're there and you're giving each other your attention,
And to show how opposites attract, quality time is Beth's number 1.
Yeah.
It is my number 5.
Yeah.
Like, you spending time with me is repulsive. Not you personally, Beth. Just people. Like, I don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Like, people that are like, I want to hang out with Mike. I'm like, no, I just want... And maybe that's an introvert-extrovert thing. You're an extrovert. You get your energy and power...
From people.
Mm-hmm. People drain me. And so, when people want to, like, hang around me and spend time with me... They may think, like you're like, well, why wouldn't Mike want me to be with him?
Yeah.
Because that's what I want. And it's not that I don't love you or want to be around you. It's just, that drains me. Like, that's not, you're not showing me that you love me
by doing them. Yeah.
By spending time with me. Like,
right.
I'm just as happy doing stuff by myself.
But that's where the disconnect can happen because then I'll feel like I just spent all this quality time. I went golfing with you, even though I could care less about golfing. So then I'm like, and you're like, I don't feel loved by you. And I'm like, but I just did all of this. Like I did, as I spoke to you in my love language, but not yours.
Right. Your second love language is acts of service.
Yes.
People doing things for you.
Yeah.
Explain acts of service. What does that mean to you as your love language?
So it's like the little things, like today is a great example. So I woke up, I had an 8 o'clock meeting, a 9 o'clock meeting. I had so many things going on. I didn't have time to make coffee. I didn't have time to do anything. And so you like just brought me coffee and a sandwich, So like, it doesn't have to be big things. It can be big things like you come and clean the entire house or something, but it doesn't even have to be housework related. It's just like, you take care of something or do something that indicates to me like, oh my gosh, that took a burden off of me. That's probably because, I know we joke, but as a person who has 80 things on my to-do list a day, if somebody does an act of service and takes one of those things off my plate, that allows me space to breathe. And that allows me space to have a little bit more time to like either do something else I need to do or do something I actually want to do. So in that way, I feel like they have shown me love.
And continuing the opposites attract.
Yes.
That is your number 2. That is my number 4.
Yeah.
So when people do things for me, it doesn't register a whole lot.
Right.
And I think a lot of that for me is because I'm a perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And for the bulk of my life, I have lived under the idea that if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And so even though people would do things for me,
like me loading the dishwasher,
I would find fault.
Yeah, because you would look at it and you could be like, Beth, you could have gotten twice as many dishes in there, if you did my method. I mean, not that but in the old days, I'm not now, but when we were first,
I've evolved.
Yeah, you definitely have.
But yeah, so the acts of service thing doesn't register with me because I would just rather do it myself because I know it would be done the way, I'm not even saying done right. It would just be done the way that I would want it done.
Yeah.
And so where acts of service, it relieves you. For me, it would cause me a little stress because I'd be like, sometimes it adds work. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like some people think they're trying to help, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, for me, they're not.
Right.
Our number 3s are the same. Gift giving.
Yes. Except you're really good at it, and I'm not.
I enjoy giving gifts,
Yeah.
but as far as receiving gifts, again, it's your love language. It's what do you get something out of it?
Yeah.
And I like getting gifts, but I'm not like, it doesn't register. Like
Yeah.
it's, whatever. You know?
Yeah, because I think for both of us, it's not like we'd be like, no, don't give us gifts. We're not saying that at all. Everybody loves to get gifts, especially like surprise gifts, but we're not the people that I'm like, if I really want to show Mike that I love him, then I'll just surprise him with this like perfect whatever.
And you're not the person that's always like, why doesn't Mike ever give me gifts?
Yeah.
Like, I need gifts. I
Right.
need somebody to give me something to show me that they love me.
Because some people will be like, they want their husband to bring flowers, or they want to have a new
don't
ring.
even have to be big.
Or,
It could be just something small.
Yeah, but they want to, or bring them chocolates or something. And like Valentine's Day is coming up, and if you didn't give, I mean, not in a mean way, but if you didn't give me anything, I'm not going to be offended
Well, I
at
didn't.
all. I know, but I'm just, but I mean, like, we're not going to. But again, I would probably be like, but I do want you to spend some time with me.
Yeah. Yes, and that's not wrong. I mean,
Right,
it's not
yeah.
that's not a bad thing. We're just indifferent to gift giving.
Yeah.
Like we'll get a gift from one another or from anybody, and we'll be like, "Oh, well, thanks."
But for some
But-
people, even maybe, I'm not sure what our kids are, but for one of our kids, I think that might be how they experience love, though. Is
Oh,
like by
absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
you're, because for them, it's like, if not only did you think about giving them a gift, but if you put thought into the gift you gave them, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you see me, you know me. So again, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's for them, that's how they feel like
Yeah.
you care.
Yeah. Yep.
Now we get to my low ones, your high ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're going to keep going down the scale.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is Beth's number 4, which is words of affirmation. Right? No. Physical touch.
Physical touch. Yeah,
Physical touch.
is yours, yeah.
Physical touch. So my number 2 is physical touch, which shocks a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a touchy-feely person.
Right.
Like, I don't mind a hug.
Yeah.
Someone wants to come up and give me a hug instead of a handshake. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not like that, but it's not like, I think because I'm naturally introverted, and I can be, I don't think standoffish, but I don't think people look at me and get the warm fuzzies, but
Yeah.
I do enjoy physical touch from people that I love, or, like I like it when my
Yeah.
kids want to give me a hug.
Yeah.
I love it when you want to give me a hug.
Yeah.
Like things like that, or even like friends at church or whatever. Like there's certain people, they walk up and they just give me a hug, and I just like, oh, that was really nice. Like it shows me that you love it. You're the opposite of that. You're like, don't really touch me. Like it doesn't matter who it is, outside of maybe our kids. But outside of that, you're not a touchy-feely person.
But what's weird about it, though, but I am a person that'll give people hugs. Like, to your point, I think if people heard this would be shocking, because they would think I would be the more... Because I do. I am a hugger. Like, if I meet people, my impulse sometimes, if I've, like, met somebody and we're saying goodbye, it's not to, like, shake their hand or something. If I've connected with them, it's to give them a hug.
But you
that
don't
is not
need
a
that.
way that I receive
It doesn't
love.
feed your soul.
No, But there's something in me that sometimes compels me to hug, but again, to your point, and I think that's where this can be confusing, because for you, you're not going to just walk up and start hugging people,
Right.
but
I enjoy being hugged.
You want,
Yeah,
so-
like that's how I feel love.
Yeah.
And that's the point of these love languages. Is,
Yeah.
You are great at initiating because you're compassionate and empathetic and, an empath. And so sometimes you can kind of feel that and know when to hug.
Yeah.
But you don't crave physical
No.
touch. This happened last night in bed. I don't know if you remember this.
What? No, I
It
don't.
was probably 3 a.m. I don't know how we were laying. I want to say you were probably on your back. I was on my back. And at some point, I guess my leg had kind of, the end of my leg, my foot even, was laying on top of your foot. Do you remember this?
No.
You woke up and said, you have got to get off of me. And I was like, what? Like you woke me up, you're like, you're all over me. I was like, My foot is on your foot. We had this conversation last night at 3 a.m, Beth, and you were like, just not right now. Like, I need, like, get off of me. I'm like, my foot is touching you.
Sorry. I don't know.
But see, I needed that physical touch.
Yeah.
I just want to know you were there. We
Yeah.
have a king-size bed. Sometimes I don't even know if I'm sleeping with anybody. So at times, I like to at least feel a little physicality.
Yeah.
But you're like repulsed by it.
It's not that. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, just need my space. Don't know.
And then my number 1 is your number 5, which is words of affirmation.
Right.
You know, it's funny. We talked about this. You love to be told you did a great job. Like, that's the kind
Yeah.
of, like, you like doing something and being recognized
Maybe
for
some
it.
positive feedback
Yes.
is more. It's not words of affirmation so much as it is just like, oh, I saw what you did and that was good, so do it again.
Yes.
You know, it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost
yeah.
like giving literally feedback, so I know, oh, this is something to repeat.
Right.
Yeah.
But words of affirmation, like I feel like I tell you every day how beautiful you are. Do I not?
Yeah.
How hot you are.
Gosh.
Do I not? I mean,
Yes,
I'm just
you
like,
do. Yeah.
you know,
And
I'm
I'm
like,
just
you look gorgeous.
ugh. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I can't get nothing. I mean, it's like I give you affirmation out, 24/7. I'm just dishing it out to you. And maybe in my insecurities, I'm fishing for affirmation. But because you don't even register affirmation,
Yeah.
you don't dish it out either.
Right, I don't.
And
I'm
so, like,
sorry.
I'm always just looking for something. Just tell me you look handsome today, or that was, you're smart, or
yeah.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Like anything. And we can get into, well, this will be another podcast, but we can get into our greatest fears.
Mm-hmm.
And I've determined over the many years of counseling, my biggest fear is the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
And so I think the affirmation combats that.
Right.
That if I feel like if someone is affirming me, they're not going to reject me.
Right.
And so,
But one of the challenges with you, I know I do disperse my words of affirmation rather sparingly, but when I do sometimes, then you're like, ugh, like your question, you think I'm being sarcastic or
because
something.
it happens so infrequently.
But to me, do you want to know what though? But for me, I feel like some words of affirmation are hollow. When people just say, like, you know, the people who are like, you're so great, da, da, da. You know, like they just say it all the time. And you're like, are you just scripting this and you even really mean it? You know, because there are people. And so I think for me, it's more like, well, when I say it, I mean it, you know? And so that's why it's so interesting.
See, I think that's why, because sometimes I feel like your words of affirmation to me are words of pity.
No.
Like, I've got to tell him this just so he doesn't,
But that's
walk out
a
in
you
traffic.
thing. Yeah, that's a you thing. Because, like, for me, I'm like, if I'm giving words of affirmation, then that means that I do mean it. And I think about that, like, with you, with the kids, like, because I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, you know, I don't always tell anybody, like, that I'm proud of them or they've done a good job. But, you know, I might, again, I'll show. I do quality time. I do things for them. I do all these other things, but I may not be telling you all enough. And so I do think that's space I need to work on. But I don't know. I think, like, you got to be willing to receive it when people do it, too.
Yeah, well, yeah. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, it's an interesting book. I mean, I would encourage anyone to read it.
Yeah.
It's a best-selling title a million times over. I mean, it's been on the New York Times bestseller list.
So
for,
now
like,
everybody that's listened to this, they are going to
20
need to,
years.
like, ask me to, like, coffee or something, and they're going to need to send you some affirmation and hug you.
Yes,
That's what's gonna. You're gonna go out in public now, and you're gonna have all these random people like coming up and hugging you. That's what's gonna happen.
I don't see that happening. I think people still look at me and they're just like, yeah, I don't think
I don't
he
know if
wants
I can
it.
hug him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I remember one time I was in downtown Winston-Salem walking. I don't know if you remember this. Like years and years ago, our kids went to school in downtown
Yeah.
Winston, and I'd gotten there a little early, so I parked and I was like, I'm gonna walk around downtown, pop in a couple stores before I pick the kids up. And later that day, one of your coworkers was like, hey, we saw Mike walking around downtown. He looked really angry. And you asked me, you were like, what were you mad about? I was like, I wasn't mad at anything. But I guess I just had this look.
You just walk around like, I'm ready to like attack
So yeah, so I
somebody.
think I have that look. So I'm not anticipating anybody wanting to like assume I want a hug.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing is it's not just hugs. I mean, to your point too, sometimes like the physical contact, I guess it could be like holding hands or a pat on the shoulder or like it could be lots of things.
Yeah.
It's just any type of.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
So, so I encourage all our listeners, pick up a copy of the book, take the test, read it. But again, the love language is about how you receive it, but also understanding your spouse or your kids.
So you can try to give it
So
in a
you
way.
can give them there. You can't assume. Like, I can't go into Mexico and just assume everyone I run into is going to speak English.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I have to figure out what is their language. Mm-hmm. Now I need to speak that language.
Right.
And that's the easiest way to explain the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
Is you've got to determine what is this person's love language so I can.
And in that analogy, if you're not fluent and I'm trying to speak Spanish and when I'm visiting Mexico, it's probably going to be a little garbled and not so good because it's not my natural love language, you know? And so I think for people to understand that too, part of it's the effort that the person puts forth to meet you there.
Oh,
with
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And by the way, we have I think, probably exceeded, if we're like Tolstoy in Lord of the Rings, like I think Sam may be upset.
Oh, it's 1:05. We've gone an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay.
Sam is not going to finish these last 5 minutes. So we can say anything we want to about him.
Does he just like cut off? Is he like, when I hit like 60 minutes,
Probably
I'm
doesn't
done?
Pay attention.
Okay.
He just turns it on.
Okay.
And goes about his accounting numbers. So anyway, that was a hot show, Beth.
Okay, we have got to like tone down. Now, I'm already having regrets, and so I think we're probably going to lose listeners because you got me so fired up. Because you made me so angry about the suitcases, and so
I didn't
it just
even.
set
All
the
I said
tone.
was, I said we have 10 suitcases, and you
and
lost
then the
your cool.
suitcases went to the calendar, and anyway, people probably think that we are like really like
Here's some
punching
promises.
it out.
I'm going to put up the screenshots of the calendars, and you can determine. And maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm also going to put up a picture of the suitcases, which I pulled out of the bonus room. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm wrong. So definitely let us know. And I think that would be the poll question, is how many suitcases do you own? And I'll put a range in there. You know,
1 or 2 to 3 or
and I also
5
just
or
thought,
more. Or
Nate
something.
Bargatze does a skit, a clip where he talks about his wife, and he calls her and says, "What time is your flight?" And she says like noon, and he's like, "It's 11:30. I don't think if that plane was in your driveway, you could make it." And she was like, "No, my plane's at 1:30. I thought you meant what time do I leave?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Why would I think that? Like, why would I ask for some arbitrary time?"
Yeah.
And that's how I feel like right now with you, with your schedule, is why would I ask for some arbitrary time to pick Josh up when I just
if by
need
some
to know?
time Nate Bargatze's wife listens to this, please reach out to me so that we can,
Yes, Laura
so that
is
we
her
can
name.
connect.
Laura, please contact
so
Beth.
that we can be aligned in this, because we're clearly thinking alike.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a great show. Hot show. Beth got mad. It was fun.
Was it?
All right.
Anyway.
Until next time, this has been Hey, Are You Still There? Follow us on social media, on the Facebook, and listen wherever podcasts are.
Yes, thanks.